And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Hello, everyone out there in Tampa Bay and beyond. This is James Knowles coming at you for the RBLR Sports podcast. I am here tonight to cover the Rowdies on what is our 1,000th video uploaded to the RBLR Sports YouTube, for which we also have 450 subscribers. If you would like to join that community where you can contribute not only via our live shows, but also just getting all the information there, please join us there, or on Blue Sky, which apparently also has over 600 people. We are racking up the milestones, folks, on social media. Please join us wherever you are. But yes, we are here tonight to cover the Rowdies specifically, and there is a lot to cover because we're doing stuff that completely isn't news. It's just for fun, and we're going to have a great time with it. Tonight is our Christmas wish list. We are getting into players. We are getting into miscellany, I think is the pronunciation, and we are even getting into what we want out of the jerseys. Carlos is getting into a sandwich that he is clearly enjoying as well. But other than that, Carlos, how are you doing?
The buffalo chicken wrap is solid, James. It would be better with less blue cheese. I will say that. I know my chicken wing lovers out there might disagree with that, but we're doing all right. This is always one of my favorite episodes in the off season because it's literally just waffle for an hour, and we'll see kind of like what sticks and what doesn't, and maybe by some grace of God we'll come up with one actual player that we do sign in the off season. I would consider that
purely by luck, not by anything that we do.
I would consider that a great success if one of the players I mentioned over the next 20 or 30 minutes actually could sign to the squad over the next couple months. Yeah. That being said, I'm excited. You know, we're going to write to Santa who we want to come down to St. Pete and take over and score a bunch of goals, or stop the other team from scoring a bunch of goals, and inevitably lead us to a 2025 USL title and a Jagermeister Cup title and the US Open Cup title, if it even happens next year. We're going to win all of them. We're going to win all of them because of the players we're going to talk about in just a little bit. James, how is sunny Bradenton, right? Sunny Bradenton, Florida?
That's right. And it is sunny for the time being. Supposedly going to get a little colder later on this week, which I personally will enjoy. So looking forward to that. It will put us right in the mood for our Christmas holiday. And I think Hanukkah is already ongoing. I actually don't know that, so I apologize. But regardless, there are many things going on at the moment. Holidays, including New Year's Eve, which is coming up right afterwards. That's how time works, right? But yeah. There's a lot to put us in a good mood at the moment. So we are going over our Christmas wish list for the new year and the new season. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube or any major podcast platform. And of course, follow us on all social medias at RBLR Sports. We are all over the place there, just as I said when we opened this up. And let's get into our wish list. So we have broken this up into two sections tonight. The first one is a player wish list. Very easy. All you got to do is say which players you want. And hey, if you've got players that you would like to see the Rowdies sign, I don't care where they're from. It might be your son. It might be someone that you know from college. It might be somebody who plays in Argentina. If you got any suggestions, throw them out there. We don't care. We will go through that. And then the second portion is the other stuff that is outside of the actual roster. So there's actually plenty to go through for both. And I will get us started by saying I would like the Rowdies this season to sign more academy players. I have two perfect examples of this, and they are both a little interesting. The first one is Tate Johnson, and the second one is Femi Awodesu. So Tate Johnson, for anyone who doesn't remember, in 2023 signed a USL Academy contract, was here briefly, played quite a few games actually, including a couple of starts, if I'm not mistaken. Joined UNC over this past, I guess, after the summer. It was his freshman season. He did so well that he was invited to the MLS Combine, or whatever they're calling it now, since they're toning down the draft. I can't keep up with all of MLS's new stupid names for stuff. So either way, if Tate Johnson joins MLS, we should take him on loan. If he doesn't, we should just sign him anyway. I believe he's ready to play professionally. If anyone in MLS does, then he is ready. Let's be the one to actually give him the start to his professional career. And the other one, Femi Awodesu, this is a name that might not be as familiar to people. Originally from Pennsylvania, actually moved to the area, joined the Rowdies Academy, and then went back to Pennsylvania to go to college, where he was one of the better center backs in the NCAA. Last season, he was drafted, but ultimately played for the Houston Dynamo's second team in their reserve league. So let's get him into a top-level professional environment, not one surrounded by probably 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. Let's get Tate Johnson and Femi Awodesu back in Rowdies colors. Let's get them on the back line. That's my starting wish list.
Yeah, that's a great place to start, James, because as you know, I am very biased towards fun, high goal scoring players. So I will admit that my wish list might be somewhat attack heavy. So all that being said, I'm glad Tate Johnson got a shout here because he was one of the pretty fun, exciting backline guys that would get upfield and, make something happen. Tate Johnson had a couple really, really good games with the Rowdies, even as a literal high schooler.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great shout. I'm surprised he's not already playing serious professional minutes with a team in America, whether it's USL or MLS. Doesn't really matter. He should be getting serious minutes. I'm surprised he's not. So it's hard to break through in this country in soccer, James.
This is true.
We know Tate Johnson's good. We know he has the quality and the potential to get even better. I'm sure now he's had some time, in a different environment. It seems like it could be a good time to bring him back and truly launch his professional career after, let's say, like the internship he had with us a few summers ago. Okay. Again, you and I might be taking a slightly different approach to this. You started with the young guys. I'm going to go straight towards the veteran guys here. I'll start with a couple of my forward picks that I wish we could bring in. I'm hoping to bring in one of these guys this offseason. First two are guys that I think could come in here and be serious starters, could create a good duo, could compete for minutes. First guy was on my list last year as well. Augie Williams, straight from Indy 11. He's still somehow not been signed to a team in this league. He is a USL vet, 10 goals, 2 assists in 31 games. He is very, very good at the sport of soccer. I'm surprised he was another player who never really broke through to the MLS ranks. But again, had another very solid season with Indy. If you look back at his career path, you'll notice that either has really good seasons or really solid seasons, not really particularly quiet seasons. He's just consistent. And when he's not consistent, it's a good type of inconsistent. He gets streaky. So this is a player that in the right system, I think can be really dangerous. He's big, he's fast, and he's in like his physical prime. He'll be 28 next year. So I think this would be a really good player, a good veteran of the game who's still, again, in his physical prime that could really add something off the bat in Tampa Bay. And I think it'd be a really interesting duo with Arteaga up top if that's the way we want to go. Augie Williams, my first wish list item here. Again, he was on my wish list last year after the damage he did. You probably recall that game when he played for Charleston, I believe. He just put sub numbers against us. I would love to have him in green and gold. The other one who is a attacking guy who I think can come in here and make an impact, Tristan Traeger, a guy who's been around the USL a little bit now as well. He had 8 goals and 2 assists and 20 games last year with Monterey Bay. Another player I'm surprised hasn't been picked up already. I think this is a pretty big loss for Monterey Bay. But again, another guy who is more of a vet, still pretty young. He'll be 26 next year. So 2 guys who are in their physical prime, move really well. Tristan Traeger is just I think pretty well known for being sneaky in the way he moves. He just gets into the right places at the right time.
Yeah.
I think very different play style from Augie Williams, but I think also would be a great compliment to Manu Arteaga. Different play styles, but complementing play styles would be really, really fun to have him in Tampa Bay up top. I'll give you a couple more forward picks here. I had Elvis Amo in my wish list, I think a couple seasons ago. Maybe it was last season. From Detroit this season. Didn't put up big numbers, but he's a guy who I guess has gotten used to coming off of the bench like he did in Detroit. I think he would be in that role if he were in Tampa Bay, but Elvis Amo is probably as good a depth piece as you can have in an attacking role. So in terms of bringing in a backup guy, a guy you can come off the bench and give you 20, 30 really good minutes, Elvis Amo big energy guy off the bench. Another tall guy who can come in here and make damage like off the bat. I'll give you a shout out here that that came in last second. James, Kimi Ordonez. What do you think about this guy? You said you like this shout.
I do. So I happen to have seen Kimi Ordonez playing for the Guatemalan under-20 team in the CONCACAF under-20 championship, I think 2 years ago.
Sicko behavior.
It is sicko behavior. I will not lie. I will not hide it. It was definitely the case. But I got to be honest, that Guatemalan team had like 3 or 4 players that I remember. Kimi Ordonez was one of them. The other one was Jonathan Franco, who is now like the senior national team central midfielder for Guatemala. And the last player was Arian Recinos, who is a player from the New England Revolution Academy. I think he went to college. Either way, he was one of the players that really stood out. So he has definitely made an impression on me. And I feel like, not that it matters at all what I think, but he probably could also make an impression on the Rowdies staff if he was given the chance.
Yeah. Yeah. So this came from my girlfriend, Faith, who is a Cincinnati fan for whatever reason. But so I know nothing about this kid. I'm looking at his Wikipedia. Had 13 goals with FC Cincinnati too. Was on loan to a team I can't pronounce in Sweden, Österunds. And James, he was a part of the best 11 in that CONCACAF U20 championship.
There we go. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, so he was on that best 11. My dad just texted me to stop eating on camera. So I'm sorry, but I already finished the wrap, so nothing to worry about on that end. So this is a guy that could come in here and cause some damage. Looks like it. I felt the need to maybe include him in here because I don't have any young players, like really. So Kimi Ordonez, hey, why not? Could be a good guy to come in here and cause some damage. Our forward room is kind of young right now. We have our 2 academy kids turned pro and Arteaga, so why not keep it young? I think this could be a good mix here with Ordonez. And then okay, James, I'll throw this guy in here too as well because I've been mentioning him for the last couple of weeks. I don't know what Bobby Wood's situation is contract wise, but if Bobby Wood is looking for a USL team, I think we should open the doors for him because you can't tell me Bobby Wood wouldn't be a potential golden goal winner in the USL. You put him in there, like he's only like 32. I mean, it feels like he should be older than he is because we haven't heard his name in a while. But Bobby Wood, hey, it's a wish list, right? We're being wishful. I won't say like Messi or something because I feel like that's like kind of annoying, and I don't like Messi like that anymore. Bobby Wood though, he's my goat. Okay. You bring him to the Rowdies, this is the guy that caused some damage. James, those are the forwards I had written out here on my very comprehensive wish list. As you can see, kind of went all over the place, but I'll give you just a quick run through on my midfield department as well. And I have not much to back these up other than these are really good players that I think would be starter quality mostly, but also great depth pieces because in this sense, if you've been keeping up with the Rowdies offseason, which if you're listening to this podcast, you probably have been, our midfield room is the more crowded of the midfield of the rooms. Sorry, that doesn't make any sense on this Rowdies roster. So I don't expect us to sign many midfielders this season, but if we do, I would love for it to be one of the following. Marlon Tabora, my boy from Georgetown, Big East midfielder of the year. This is a guy that in the right room, you give him a depth piece, he can compete for starting minutes. Marlon Tabora is insane on the wing. He can get upfield. He's a great attacking mid. Creates goals, creates chances by himself, dribbles well, finishes well. Give me Marlon Tabora on the Rowdies if you're a front office guy and you're listening to this. Kisiedu, by the way, is out of contract in Detroit. He is on loan from a team in the Czech league, but he hasn't gotten any minutes with them in his time there. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is another situation where he goes on loan again. Kisiedu is another USL vet. He played with Detroit last year. I think this guy would be a starting quality player for us, but again, it's a pretty crowded midfield unit for the Rowdies. I'll give you Jorge Gonzalez as well. Played for Louisville last year. He's out of contract. And then the last big one I'll throw in here is a true USL vet because I was just surprised to see his name still on the free agent list. And Solomon Asante. Played with Las Vegas last year, had a pretty good year. Obviously, he's not the MVP that he was a few seasons ago. But I think like Leo Fernandez, he's a guy that could have a pretty good bounce back season. Hey, and it could be with the Rowdies. But okay, again, I'll qualify all of those names by saying again, lots of midfielders on this team already. I'm going to imagine we're going to focus our signing this offseason's on defender and goalie and maybe a couple forward pieces. But I felt the need to throw those in here before moving on. James, you have a few more names. Talk to us about them.
Yes, I do. I was going to try to go through my list of young Scottish players that need some more minutes. And then I decided that is not the right angle to take for this one. Instead,
it's behavior.
It is. Again, I cannot lie. I cannot hide it. But in this case, I think the better option would actually be to go for the local players. So that is what I have done. I have come up with a couple more local players that I think could contribute to this Rowdies team in one way or another. Those include a player who is originally from Orlando, plays for the Puerto Rican national team, has represented Tampa Bay United in the NPSL, and I happened to go to one of his games, and I didn't even realize he was going to be there. So that is Beto Idrach. He is, like I said, Puerto Rican national team player. He is currently at the University of Akron as a fifth-year student, so I guess this would be his graduate year. Yeah. But he was, whatever conference they're in, I don't remember. Whatever conference they're in, Big East, he was the defensive player of the year in the Big East. So he could add to our center back depth, and we would be giving an option to a Puerto Rican national team member, which for me is pretty cool because I like boosting CONCACAF in general. So that is one option. Two options, USF center backs. Brian Schaefer, who was drafted last year and previously played for FC Cincinnati 2. He is a Florida native. I believe grew up in Jacksonville, but like I said, went to USF, was drafted and played for FC Cincy in the MLS Next Pro League. And then this year, a senior player, Nick Scargill. He is a St. Pete native, also USF player. And I was trying to figure out exactly what went on with him this particular year. I don't know if he was injured, but I don't know if he actually took part in the 2024 season for USF. Either way, he was a pretty good defender, and I think that he could contribute. He would probably be ready because he and Brian Schaefer seem to be not exactly on the exact same level per se, but pretty close, and I think that they could both contribute. The last one is another local player, I believe, from the Pinellas area. He currently plays for High Point in the NCAA, and I think he's only a junior. But there are a lot of players now that MLS is loosening up their draft rules. There are a lot of players who are looking to go pro and kind of make it a more similar system than to what the rest of the world has. So that player is midfielder Brendan Kruger. He was formerly a youth player in this area, obviously, and then he went to High Point, where he has now become one of the highest rated players in the men's college side. So, yes, I would like to see one or all of Beto Idrach, Nick Scargill, Brian Schaefer, and Brendan Kruger also join Tate Johnson and Femi Awodesu on the Tampa Bay Rowdies roster. I think we might at most get one of those, but I would be fine with it if we did.
Yeah. Yeah, I love like recording this live because it's fun to see this, how James and I approach this very differently. James, I feel like you have a very centered approach to how you go about these, right? It's related to Tampa area, youth academy. If you're looking at, well, you can't see my list if you're listening to this live or you're watching this recorded, but my list is all over the place of just players. Some are just vibes. Most of them are backed up by stats, but there's a few players in my list here, some that I've mentioned already, that are kind of just vibes. One of those being Bobby Wood. Solomon Asante is also kind of a vibes player. But James, it's a wish list. You and I go about what we wish for in different ways. Look, and it's the reality. It's America. We can wish for what we want, and I love that. So I'll give you my back end here on my wish list of mostly real wishes and then some kind of just vibes. I'll give you, to move into my back line and the goalie, to wrap up my wish list here on this December 17th. Kevin Lambert, everyone knows him, USL legend at this point, played a ton in the USL, and he's a vet of this league. One of the better defenders that's graced the fields of USL. He is currently signed to Real Salt Lake, but he didn't play for them last year. He's actually out on loan last year to San Antonio. Correction, he played 2 games for Salt Lake, but he spent most of the season out on loan to San Antonio. Before that, he was at Phoenix Rising, which you probably recall, for 6 years. That's where he played most of his soccer, had 147 appearances over there, and was a part of that really, really, really good Phoenix Rising squad that could never put it together and win the title, but who was incredibly solid on that back line. And Kevin Lambert was one of the reasons for that. This is pending, Salt Lake even wanting to loan him out, but just based on the fact that I only played 2 games last season, and forgive me, I'm not too familiar with Salt Lake's roster or MLS in general, but assuming that they want to get him some more minutes on loan, maybe the Rowdies can work their way in there, because this guy is a solid defender. And the back line right now is not a position where we can kind of focus on depth pieces right now. The back line is kind of one of the positions where we need to go out and get serious, really good starters right now. Yeah. Kevin Lambert would be one of them. The other guy I threw in here on my back line was Paco Craig, who notoriously played for Miami FC for a while, unfortunately. He was at North Carolina FC, formerly the Railhawks, rest in peace. And he's another one of the best defenders in this league, truly. I don't know why he's kind of gotten stuck on some of these poorer squads, these not great teams, because he should be on a team that's competing for a title. He's an incredible player, very, very solid center back, and he would be a fantastic addition to the squad today. So Paco Craig would be my other defensive shout here for 2025, because again, we need to go out and get starting pieces at the center back spot. At the back line, we don't really have any right now. We just have Aaron Guillen, so he's a starter, but you get my point. We need more people to play back there. It's not a position where we can focus on depth right now. So let's go out and get a couple big names at the back. The other position where we're going to need a pretty big name, James, is the goalie spot. We don't have a goalie on the roster right now. The good thing is that there are plenty of goalies competing for one spot on every team, right? So there's plenty of good goalies out there. One of them I saw, so I was kind of like just looking through earlier today and thinking about who I'd want a goalie from like the USL ranks, right? Off the dome, I thought about Raiko Rosarena, who had a great year at Las Vegas. Like, That's true. I know some people, think Raiko Rosarena and think of that notorious final. Not entirely his fault, that result, by the way.
Not in my estimation.
No. I'm gonna throw him out there because, hey, like he's had a great season in Las Vegas. It looks like he's settling into the USL. If we need to go out and get a goalie, why not go grab Raiko Rosarena, who knows the area already pretty well. Obviously, his brother is no longer a Tampa Bay Ray, so there's not a fun storyline there anymore. But that being said, he's still a really solid goalie, and we're going to need at least 2, James. So might as well go grab him. Damian Loss, I'll throw in here as well. Played for Louisville last year, had a fantastic season. He's on loan. He was on loan from Austin in MLS. This guy had a fantastic season in Louisville, one of the better defensive squads this year. And he settled in very nicely over there. Louisville, it's one of the situations where it's like, well, like you see a guy going from one, championship contender to another in the same conference. Well, it's kind of unique because he was on loan. I don't think like Louisville has any say. It's not like Louisville's gonna be like, oh, we don't want him to go to the Rowdies, so we're not going to sell him. So there's another situation where Austin has the power here. If they want him to get minutes somewhere else, we want to send him out on loan again. I think the Rowdies can sneak in there and make it happen. We need a pretty big name goalie, and he had a fantastic season. I can see him succeeding with the Rowdies this year as well. More vibes-based player here, James, because I saw Akira Fitzgerald. His contract is up in the air right now in North Carolina. He was one of my favorite random Rowdies in the past. He had great minutes when he did play, but he was always kind of in the shadow of a very famous Matt Pickens, who had plenty of great games with the Rowdies.
Yes. Yeah.
Obviously, he's in that 100-game club. Akira Fitzgerald had fantastic minutes when he did play, though. It's fun because he was at Railhawks, and then he came to the Rowdies, and then he went back to what was now North Carolina FC. It'd be fun to have him bounce back to Tampa Bay. Still a great goalie from what I've seen. Why not? And then this will be a shout since we talked about FC Cincinnati earlier. Free Evan Loro, by the way. Like, Evan Loro is an insanely good goalie. He shouldn't be on the bench anywhere. Get him off of the bench and get him back to the Rowdies. We have some unfinished business with him, and I know he has some unfinished business with us. Why not? Let's think about it, right? We're gonna be in the final next year. Evan Loro does not injure himself celebrating in the conference final against whoever we play. Think about the storylines in the final, James. Like, this is storybook stuff. Evan Loro completing the full circle in the final with the Rowdies and getting the title. Evan Loro is too damn good at soccer to be on the bench. Let's bring him back because it's kind of annoying to see him just have dashes on his FOTMob profile. Free him. Let's get Evan Loro back in Tampa. And then I had Nate Steinwasser on my list as of an hour ago until James abruptly mentioned that he retired today while we are live and recording this. I'm thinking this could be like a Rob Gronkowski situation where, another team that he didn't want to play for reached out to him and he didn't really want to play for them. So he's retiring, quote unquote, until the Rowdies pick him up. That could be one of those. So it's probably not. It's probably not. But Nate Steinwasser, damn good goalie. I didn't know he retired until James told me. So unless James is feeding me propaganda and fake information, congrats to Nate, because this guy gave us lots of headaches and plenty of other teams headaches.
Yeah.
So, a random shout out to Nate Steinwasser on this Tuesday evening. And those are all of the guys I had on my list on paper. My forwards, midfielders, defenders, goalies. I'll throw in a miscellaneous shout that I would love for us to go down and expand, our scouting network into South America.
Same.
Go get a kid who's 19, 20, trying to break through in the world of soccer, isn't getting, a ton of minutes for an Atlético Nacional or a Talleres in Argentina. There's so many good players down there that just need a chance. And they would be pretty low risk investments. You don't have to spend a ton of money on a kid just trying his luck in the US. Truly, it would not be a high risk investment here for the Rowdies. I know in terms of infrastructure, it kind of takes a lot to expand a scouting network like that and go into a whole nother continent. It's easier maybe for us to make those UK and Scottish connections, right? On account of, our head coach, our former head coach, our faux partnership with Norwich City that I haven't heard about in 2 years. But we have some sort of connection to that area that, has led to some players being signed, right? Maybe it's just too much of investment to kind of increase that effort in a different part of the world entirely. But if it's not, and we're kind of just looking to just throw a net down there and see what sticks, I think it'd be worth it. I think it'd be worth it to just go out and try our luck with, an academy kid from an Independiente del Valle or something who is producing all of Ecuador's best athletes. I think we're long overdue for something like that. I can't think of the last time we went and grabbed a South American player. This is going to be an insane pool. Do you remember the name Carlos Preciado, James?
No, I don't.
This is the last time I remember us going into South America and grabbing a player. Super random. Carlos Preciado played maybe 3 games for us, and I was so hyped when we signed him. It was this Colombian guy, a forward who I believe was on Atlético Nacional's roster. He was solid, and I for whatever reason, he couldn't really figure it out with the Rowdies. Sorry, he played 18 games with us, but as a forward, he scored 0 goals. So he couldn't really figure it out here. He has played all over. I'm looking at his Wikipedia. Oh my gosh, he's on a different team every season. But that's literally the last time I can remember the Rowdies grabbing a player from a South American team in an offseason and bringing him to the Rowdies. This was way back in 2016. And I might I can't remember every single player that's played for the squad since then, so I might be mistaken. But I think we're long overdue for trying our luck again. Maybe 8 years ago we tried it and it said, well, it didn't work out and we didn't try ever again. But I think we're due for a pickup straight from South America. Yeah, so I think that's it on my end for my player wish list. I just countless other great players that we didn't name that obviously could have been on this list, but these are the guys that came off the dome earlier today. Guys that have been on the wish list before, particularly Augie Williams. I would love to see him on this squad. Yeah, James. If you're listening to this live on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or whatever, this is a fantastic time to throw in a player that you want to see on this squad. I love hearing everyone's thoughts because it's a wish list, James. It's literally just a wish list. We're throwing in names. We're seeing what sticks. Shout out to Harry from San Antonio for listening in here and dropping the comment. Look, it's a wish list. If you have a name and you want to hear us talk about it, let's talk about it. And we probably won't talk about like your son, like James said. I love hearing about, Rowdies employees who get like DMs with from like dads with their kids' highlights taped and everything. Like, we could do that. I mean, we're only at 35 minutes. We could do that if we have more time, but we still have a whole half of the show left. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Hey, look, send us your kids' highlight tapes. Maybe in the last 3 minutes, we'll watch it. That'd be a fun time. James, that is all I have on my wish list. Any other guys you want to throw in here before we move on to the next piece of our wish list?
I think of the players that you named specifically, the one that I would like to see the most is probably Evan Loro. Just as you said, unfinished business with him. He's an incredible goalkeeper. We know that already. I think that he would be a great signing, and he obviously wants to play. That's why he left us to go and play somewhere at a higher level, because that's what he was feeling like he could do. And it's unfortunate that it hasn't worked out since then. So I would like to see him. One other goalkeeper that I might shout out is Hunter Sulte. He is the guy who was on loan at Indy this season. I don't think he had the best season overall, but he probably could be a better goalkeeper, I think, with a better defensive unit in front of him. And as I learned when we played Indy at IMG Academy, he has family from the Lakewood Ranch area. So he could be a local guy with the caveat of having been born and raised in Alaska, but still pretty something around here.
Alaska and Florida are rather similar from what I hear. I've never been to Alaska, but they have a beautiful coast and
probably something by the way of crazy people around there.
Probably, Alaska man, right? I'm sure there's sand. I'm sure there's like a beach over there. It's probably not like Clearwater-esque, but I guess we can count that as local. Sure, we'll go for it. James, I'll give you one more name here that just came off the dome as I was looking through another tab. Tommy Williamson has a ton of potential. Loudoun United kid. For whatever reason, hasn't been re-signed over there. Kid's good. I mean, kid's got a lot of raw potential. We saw him cause some problems for us earlier this year. Didn't have an insane season, but if there's a player who, most of the players I've shouted out are players that are rather proven veteran guys. If there's a player I'm willing to just kind of bet on to be good in the future, it'd be this kid, Tommy Williamson. And I would love to see that happen with the Rowdies. Another breakthrough player, breakthrough story. Yeah, he caused us a ton of problems. Might as well turn him into a weapon for us next year.
That's a great way to look at it.
Exactly. Player wish list done, dusted. Tuesday, December 17th, 6:56 p.m. We'll move on from that, James. Unless you have another player to throw in here last second.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Let's get on to the next section. But quickly, beforehand, liking and subscribing is free. If you think you might need some new threads coming up in 2025, maybe a Christmas wish list of your own, you could fulfill some of those and support this podcast at the same time by heading over to shop.rblrsports.com, checking out all the designs that we've got going on there. There is a link in the description, and you can use the promo code that I'm pointing to right now for everyone who can see this on YouTube or other broadcast. Use that promo code COYR for 10% off of your order. Please do check it out. Got some new stuff up there, especially related to the sun, and they are pretty cool designs in my opinion. Now, Carlos, let's get into the miscellaneous stuff. First thing that I want to jump into. Next season, as far as I could tell from my search online, brief as it was, I will admit, the Rowdies agreement with Al Lang Stadium goes through 2025. After that, either we could naturally try to re-up, and I don't know what that looks like because there are always rumors surrounding about Al Lang's land, always rumors swirling about how people are trying to buy this and that parcel and turn it into more condos because that's what everybody needs. Taylor Swift's dad apparently lives around there. Maybe he's looking to buy some new condos or something. But I would like to know in 2025, let's get a real concrete plan for the future for a stadium, specifically for the Rowdies, whether that is at Al Lang in the long term or whether that becomes somewhere else. I don't know, of course, but that's one of the things that I would like in 2025, a concrete plan for the future.
I like that. That's a good way of putting it. Al Lang has this sort of like mystical element to it, right?
And I love it. If we stayed there, that'd be great, personally.
Yeah. It's been there forever. It's historic, right? All these historic baseball players have played where the Rowdies now kick a ball, right? It's pretty cool. It's a great place to play soccer. It's a great view. If we're sticking around for the long run, Al Lang is in dire need of a renovation.
Maybe a seawall.
a seawall. Yeah, absolutely in need of a seawall. Yeah. I almost forgot that we've been like ravaged by hurricanes and that the stadium took a toll from that. But if we're sticking around there, I think we are in need of a facelift, particularly in the concourse, right? Like the concourse is not a particularly, it's not super accommodating when there's a big, massive Rowdies crowd. You know, think about when we've had sellout crowds and how packed that concourse is. It's not ideal. I know that's kind of why they've taken a liking to putting all these like attractions and the big merch store and like the kicking the ball stuff and like a little mini beer garden situation at midfield. I like it. That's cool. But Al Lang needs a bit of a facelift. And if we're sticking around for the future, which again, wouldn't mind, you know, the Rowdies are perfectly okay over there. They get a good crowd, not really a population issue over there, like Tropicana Field kind of struggles with sometimes. I'd be fine with that. But like you said, James, we do need to start thinking about a plan. Maybe Al Lang looks nicer in 2026 or 2027, or maybe we're in a new stadium entirely. Who knows? I know even saying that kind of scares some folks because Al Lang, again, is just this like historic piece of Rowdies history. So I don't really see a world where the Rowdies like move on to a new stadium just because it seems like everything's pretty comfortable and dandy at Al Lang. But that being said, I think we do need a bit of a facelift on that front, James. I know I'm looking ahead in our notes. I know you have a couple things in terms of stadium experience that we can get to later on, but we need to touch it up a little bit, if nothing else. And I think a plan, I think some sort of, you know, discussion about that would be great. To throw this in here as part of my wish list. I've said this before. I was a huge fan of the Rowdies like season ticket holder kickoff parties. I love those.
Yeah.
Those were fun. I think those were places where questions could be asked and ownership would be like open to answering them of like all the season ticket holders. They'd be as transparent as they could be. Bill Edwards was actually pretty good at that. He liked, you know, being around the fans and chatting for a while. Those were a good time independently of the stadium discussion, but to bring it back to what we were just talking about, that's a great place to have this discussion, to, you know, share some plans, tell us what's going on. I would love that, James. They're so much fun. It's great to interact with the players, kickoff parties, but like you said, definitely need to start thinking about kind of what's the future of Al Lang, and the future of Rowdies at Al Lang.
Yes, I am obviously hopeful for whatever that turns into. But like I said, Al Lang Stadium would be great for me. It's actually pretty good living in Bradenton and not having to drive all the way up to Tampa every single time. We do that for the sun, but it wouldn't be the worst thing to go just to St. Pete. Yeah. In the meantime, I will get back to the wish list. This one actually is provided by producer Eureka. So if you don't like it, then yell at him on social media. But Eureka requests the black kit with yellow hoops, better than the Volt ever was. My wife is going to be upset about that one. And a throwback that is unique versus other classic kits. I do understand that, and I don't mind it. Carlos, you had a note on this one?
Well, yeah, I'll get to that in a second. The black kit with the yellow hoops, personally, that's one I've never been able to get behind. I'm sorry, Eureka. I wasn't really seeing it when they were, you know, this is pre-Carlos era in the Rowdy. Based on the pictures I've seen, those are one.
We can think of such a time as pre-Carlos.
Yeah. Those are one of the few Rowdies kits where I've said, you know what, I'm glad we moved on from those. I actually don't hate the Volts, and I know it's kind of a hot take. I actually don't hate them. I think they're kind of tough sometimes. But that being said, if you watch baseball at all, you've probably seen these like City Connect jerseys that a lot of teams drop. They like to spice it up every year, right? Where it's a sort of like kit, or sorry, like a jersey that has some sort of tie into like the history, the culture of the city they play in. So there'll be a different color, right? Like for the Rays had this kind of thing where they went with this like skater vibe and like underground, graffiti and like skate culture that they said characterized St. Pete. I thought was pretty cool. Miami has like this Miami Vice situation going on, right? Like all these cities have like this history or culture around their stuff, right? I think it would get controversial once you start saying, well, are you going to do like a St. Pete City Connect, or is it going to be like a Tampa City Connect, or like a mix of both, right? I think something like that would be really cool, though. Like just kind of like a third kit that is more city focused, right? Kind of reflects the city's culture, the city's history. I can't really think of a time that the Rowdies really had any gear like that. It's all been, like Rowdies, which is great. Like all Rowdies stuff, Rowdies kits, Rowdies third kit. I would love some like emphasis on like the Tampa or Tampa Bay part, right?
Yeah.
I think that'd be pretty cool. Like a Cigar City kind of jersey. I don't know, like something like cultural, something cool like that. To give a shout out to the history of Tampa or St. Pete or Tampa Bay as a whole. I think that would be really cool. Baseball teams have a really good time with that. I think this would be and this will be spoiling some news that we'll talk about later on, but just to preemptively discuss it with the new Rowdies kit sponsor, who again we'll talk about in a little bit. They seem to have a knack for the creative and the bright and the culture of the teams they represent based on what I've seen. This seems to be an opportunity to have some fun with a cool third jersey that they've talked about.
Yeah, I didn't know about that, but that is actually a pretty cool idea. And I think that a lot of teams have recently taken to trying to add a third kit because also it's a great way to make more money.
Yeah.
And if you sell something that people want to buy, you'll probably get some good returns out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good shout there. So
Yeah.
the next one that I wanted to go to relates back to the Tampa Bay Sun, actually. If we can't have any coordination between the Rowdies and the Sun, I am not in charge of that, so fair enough. Can they at least play soccer on different nights so that fans don't have to worry about missing one or the other? I think that would be cool. Or Carlos, you again had another note that was a pretty good suggestion here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's easier for the Rowdies and the Rays to do this doubleheader situation, right? Where they kind of are owned by the same folks. Not kind of, they are owned by the same folks. And because of that, they can collaborate a bit more, a bit easier. And sometimes they have these doubleheader ticket packages, and they're a good time. And I did it once, and it was so much fun to start at the Rays and then hop on the little bus and head over to Al Lang. Obviously, different situation, different parts of different sides of the Bay. There would be a lot of collaboration involved in this, but like how they have the new like ferry that crosses from downtown St. Pete to downtown Tampa. Like, I think it'd be a great time to partner up with that and use that to your advantage, because the Rowdies playing downtown St. Pete and the Tampa Bay Sun playing downtown Tampa, obviously. It would be a dream to start the afternoon at a Tampa Bay Sun game, in downtown Tampa, right? Enjoy a nice 3-0 win, hop on the ferry, cross the bay over to the Rowdy Stadium and watch a game over there in downtown St. Pete. They're both owned by the USL. Not owned, sorry, but they both play in the USL, right? Different leagues within the USL. But I think despite different ownerships and whatever, different cities, I think there's room for some sort of cool collaboration here. The Sun seem to have more games in like the afternoon than the Rowdies historically have had. So I think it'd be a pretty cool situation to have a Sun afternoon game and a Rowdies evening game on a Saturday. Doubleheader, one ticket, 2 games. That's a soccer lover sicko's dream on a Saturday, I would say.
Yeah, Absolutely. Definitely would be for me. As we've noted, I am I am already very much a soccer sicko, especially for the local American thing. So yes,
Absolutely.
let's move on to the next point here. Amenities at Al Lang. This is what Carlos was hinting at before. Personally, I would like for them to have a couple more veggie options other than just buying French fries or popcorn. That would be generally cool. I don't know if there's a way that they could incorporate a food truck that has. There's a lot of places around the world that you go and you can get like a curry dish. I think that would be cool. Maybe that would be a little too much. I'm sure that there are easier things like fried the cauliflower bites. Everybody's doing cauliflower bites instead of chicken wings. Easy.
Sure.
Something like that would be good. Personally, another gripe that I would have, probably a lot of people, better options for prices. Let's get one beer that costs $5. I don't know what it'll be. Maybe PBR. I don't know. One beer that is $5 would be great. That would be super, super neat for everybody involved. Everything else can stay the normal American pricing at a stadium, expensive, which is crazy when you compare it to most other places around the world. One beer that's $5 would be great. And the last thing that I think, which actually leads into this, more theme nights and giveaways, because if you do more theme nights, you don't have to have just a military night, a pride night. Those are both fun in different ways. They have other ones that I'm forgetting. I don't
Heritage
remember.
Night. Woo!
Yeah, but Carlos, you had a fantastic suggestion for a potential theme night, which I think literally every single lower division team in any sport anywhere in America should do.
Look, arguably the most important thing I'm going to say tonight is that the Rowdies should incorporate a $1 beer night into their promotional schedule. If you are around the Pinellas area, particularly in Clearwater, you've occasionally seen, propaganda ads, billboards for the Clearwater Threshers Tuesday games. And you might be wondering, how the hell does single A Clearwater Threshers baseball get a good crowd every Tuesday during the summer? And it's because they have $1 beer night, James. They have $1 beer night. People go in droves to whatever the stadium's called, off US 19 in Clearwater, because they get to watch a baseball game, but more importantly, they get $1 beers, $1 hot dogs, $1 popcorn. I'm not saying you're gonna do all of that, but if you dedicate one night to $1 beers, James, you're gonna have the best crowd of the season, whether you're playing the Villages or like Louisville.
Can we
State.
do it against the Villages? Actually, that would be great.
An first round Open Cup game, right? No one's particularly thrilled about the game versus Miami United, right? From what, the NPSL, maybe.
I don't even know.
or what's another local team? The Palm Harbor Pelicans.
Maybe a good option too would be within the upcoming competition, the Jager Cup.
Yeah, the Jager Cup. Let's get some Jager at the stadiums, right? Some cheap Jager involving drinks, Jager bombs for everyone when the Rowdies score a goal. We need promotionals that will both get the crowd mildly inebriated, right? Get the crowd a bit rowdy, but genuinely, these $1 beer nights for other minor league sports produce huge crowds, and they're like a town thing, right? Yeah. People go to the Clearwater Threshers games on Tuesdays because it's $1 beer night. It's like a fun thing. They have T-shirts about it because it's such a famous little thing in the area, like a baseball beer and hot dogs or something like that. Or I came for the $1 beers or whatever. People will have fun with it, even if you're not attracting your diehard soccer fan. You're gonna get a good crowd, and that's what you want to do every week, obviously. I think that'd be really, really fun to do. And again, the Threshers do it on Tuesdays because those are days that people just don't typically go to sports. It's harder to get crowds on these weekdays. Yeah. Harder to get crowds in single A baseball. Similar-ish situation with USL, although, bigger crowd than single A baseball. You put $1 beer night on one of these random weekday games we have, you're going to solve the attendance issue that night. I don't know anything about the numbers. I'm not a business school guy. but I'm sure financially it balances out with a bigger, ticket box number. You balance out whatever loss you might have on the beer. Dollar beer night, James. Let's make it happen, please. That'd be so much fun. Ugh.
Yes, I am legitimately. If this somehow gets back to the Rowdies front office, I am legitimately requesting that one. That's not my up in the air. That's like a for real. put it on my wish list. Request there. Yeah. All right, my last one. Actually, Carlos, this is your last one, so I'm going to let you take this.
Oh, okay. So I mentioned the Open Cup. My wish list is that it still exists next year, and that if it does, that we make a good run in it. That's a good way to close it out. Obviously, we want to win all the titles. We have been long overdue for a big U.S. Open Cup run. Our run started and ended with the Seattle Sounders game way back when in 2014, I believe. And that's been the story of success in the Open Cup, which involved one upset win against Seattle. It was a great win. But I'd like to see some more. We can make it happen. That being said, who knows if the Open Cup's going to be alive next year? Don Garber, if you're listening to this,
we hate you.
Let's have a chat. Let's talk about a civil chat about what we can bring to the table here in the Open Cup. And if it doesn't exist next year, we better make a damn good run at the title in the Jagermeister Cup, James. Let me tell you, the Jagermeister Cup, the most incredible name of a trophy you've ever seen, up there with like the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Like the Jagermeister Cup is
I forgot about that.
Yeah. The Jagermeister Cup is some gold. And I'm telling you, I want to see the players taking shots like with the crowd at the end of the 90 minutes when we inevitably beat, I don't know, like Sacramento in the Jagermeister Cup final, or maybe there's an upset and we're playing against the USL League One team.
Ooh.
All jokes aside, this is a fun tournament that I'm looking forward to because it's starting regional based, and there's some fun like regional competition around here.
This is going to be super cool.
It'll be fun. Throw out Miami FC, and you have a fun group in our southeastern group, right? With South Georgia Tormenta FC, who historically owns us in the preseason. The new team in Palm Beach, James? No, not Palm Beach. Naples, correct. And Naples in League One, which will be fun. They're just getting their new stadium up and running. It's gonna be a cool little kind of like a like North Carolina FC situation where they have their main stadium and a little soccer complex around there for youth soccer. It'll be a cool setup that they got over there. And then Miami FC and Charleston. So it's a fun little group we have in the Southeast. Fully expect to get out of this group if it's like top two, right? Pretty clear top two on that end, but it'll be a fun group. Hopefully a fun away game to a Naples or a Tormenta, right? Some good opportunity to do some more local-ish travel in a league where it's often hard to get out of the area. But if the Open Cup doesn't exist, let's make a run at the Jagermeister Cup and go for the first ever double crown in USL.
There we go.
Yeah,
I like that.
It was like double something. There's a better name for it.
Double fisting crown.
The double, like the Jager or something. We'll come back to it. It'll be a Jager related name. We're not sponsored by Jagermeister, but if they're looking to sponsor a soccer podcast, we are here, and we will be here until you come to us and say we want to partner with you. And I will gladly take the first Jagermeister shot, the first ever Jager bomb taken live on RBLR Sports. I will register to be that guy for Jagermeister. But James, I would like a Jagermeister Cup run, independent of the alcohol. I would enjoy another title.
Yes, I agree. Open Cup, Jagermeister Cup, both of them. Let's do it. Let's
triple crown.
Yeah, let's go for everything, and let's make legitimate runs this year. That would be fantastic. That concludes our wish list, and it actually leads us into the extra time segment because the first point on that was the USL Championship will join the Jagermeister Cup in 2025. Carlos already went through how it's going to be split up regionally. So we will already be playing those teams that he mentioned, including brand new FC Naples, the first season of their existence will be in the USL League One, but we'll be playing them in this Jägermeister Cup. I am excited about that. One of their owners is Nico Cantor. If you know Andres Cantor, he is the guy who is known for yelling "goal" at the during the Mexican League games. So his son is on the Golazo Network on CBS Sports, and he is part of the ownership group for FC Naples. I think that it'll be cool when we have another local rival. And in the future, assumedly, we will also get to play Sarasota Paradise if and when they join. There will be other teams around Florida, like Jacksonville. They are already set to join the USL Super League. We'll see when they join either League One or the Championship on the men's side. There's all sorts of cool stuff coming up, and the Jägermeister Cup is going to be a big part of our future, in my opinion. Carlos, turn it over to you.
Jägermeister Cup, let's win it. That's all I have for that. I love the Jägermeister Cup already. The Mexican apparel brand by the name of CHARLY, fun name, is doing all the Rowdies gear after this multi-year agreement. And I think that part is pretty interesting, all the Rowdies gear, because they're doing their own Rowdies line of merch, clothing, your hoodies, your shirts and everything. I've always said we need more gear that's just kind of wearable, for the day-to-day. It's cool clothes. It's clothes that will get the name out there in random parts. Jerseys are great, and I wear jerseys around because I like to do so. But there's always room for, this fun, line of casual, urban clothing you can wear around that holds the Rowdies name on it still in some way. The Rowdies have done that a bit recently. There's some cool sweaters, some cool hoodies that I've bought from the store, but this brand looks like it is a very fun, colorful.
They try stuff.
Yeah, they try stuff. If you look up all their jerseys, and I'm going online right now on another tab just to remember all the Mexican teams that they rep, but they have a bunch of Mexican teams in their portfolio: Atlas, Leon, Santos Laguna, Tijuana. And like James said, they try stuff. I mean, and the ones they really try stuff with are always these third kits I'm seeing, by the way. So they have normal, good-looking first and second, home and away kits. And then you look at their line of third kits, and they're kind of outlandish, very fun. Some are better than others. But like I was saying earlier, they kind of do things that represent the club. They have a lot of iconography. That's a word. A lot of kind of design. Some of them have literal pictures built into it, skulls and stuff. Tijuana has a dog built into the third jersey. It's pretty cool stuff. It's very outlandish. A lot of those types of designs are uniquely culturally Mexican. So it seems to be that they're kind of they enjoy reflecting the culture of a team, bringing out the color. I'm curious what a Rowdies third jersey would look like if they kind of just keep rolling with this whole mustache theme that they've been enjoying recently. Bringing mustache in the middle of the kit. I wouldn't be surprised. It seems like these guys are pretty outlandish like that, which is fine. It's a third kit. It should be fun and whatever. But if you're going to make a third kit, I think it'd be fun to make one that's cool, fashionable, right? One that you can wear out and about. Again, I wear Rowdies jerseys around, but you do get kind of funky looks when you walk into a bar and it's bright green and gold. I still do it, but there's nicer, more fashionable kits to be made for your day-to-day stuff. And I think this company looks like it'll provide an opportunity for that. So I'm pretty excited for that third kit that they keep talking about.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Very, very random, by the way. It was not news I was expecting to see this offseason today, right? Very random. I thought our jerseys in the past few years were fine. I like that we brought back the hoops on the sleeves and whatnot. And it seems to be that they might try something similar based on the fact that they said they want to honor the history of the club, right? The history has a lot of hoops involved in it. So I'd imagine if I was a betting man, which I am, that I would put some money on hoops being involved in the kits next year. And I'd be okay with that. Maybe I'd even put it on my wish list. Didn't come up today, but I would love some cool jerseys. But more importantly for me, I want a fashionable, cool day-to-day, urban style third kit that we can wear around. Yeah. James, I have 2 more points here in our extra time segment. Shout out Vermont, the University of Vermont, for being NCAA champs yesterday. It was a really fun game. It went to
Game
overtime.
was pretty fun to watch, gotta say.
Yeah, went to overtime. Vermont knocked off Marshall in this golden goal setup that NCAA has for its overtime. Really, really fun team. They only lost 2 games all season, and despite that, they weren't giving a seed in the national championship tournament. They were an unseeded team that went all the way to the final and beat, I think, the number 8 team, if I'm not mistaken, Marshall. Marshall was the other team. I just forgot what seed they were. If you know anything about college soccer, and I'm not expecting you to because it's kind of niche, but Vermont's been pretty good in the last few years. I'm glad they finally broke through because they've been pretty fun to watch when I've caught their games. Marshall is a really interesting story. They turned to like basically exclusively recruiting internationally, which is so funny to think about. Some European kid who didn't really make it in like the Prem, deciding he's going to live in like rural West Virginia for 4 years. There's a fun image in my head about that. And they've gotten very good at soccer because of it, because they just decided we're going to go international. And there's discussion about whether that's good or bad for NCAA soccer. I think there's valid opinions on either side, but the point is that the landscape of college soccer is drastically changing in the last few years. It's going more international. I mean, Marshall didn't have a single domestic kid on their national championship squad a few years ago. On the starting lineup that they had this time around, they had 1 kid from the U.S. So it's pretty interesting to see how they've gotten very good recently. But Vermont national champs, and they did it as a huge underdog. So that's pretty fun. And then the last thing I'll say, James, before we start to wrap up here, I was in Ecuador last weekend. Liga won an insane final. They lost the away leg that I was at 1-0, but the atmosphere is just so cool to be around all the time, and I'm so glad I was there. I didn't post anything on Twitter because my data was so slow, but I'm gonna share some stuff from that this week. And tons of cool videos, tons of cool pictures. It's cool to be in like a soccer culture. You know, I love the Rowdies. I love being at Al Lang, but it's always so different to be in a city where it's like soccer and like that's it. You know, there is no Buccaneers, there is no Lightning, there is no Rays or USF. This is all we have is a soccer team, and it's a pretty interesting. It's really interesting to be somewhere like that when that team wins a title. It's super cool to be around. I love South American soccer. Let's go pick up some kids from down there, James. It's about damn time. That is all I have for extra time. James, anything else to mention before we start to wrap up here?
You got everything. You covered everything, including the stuff that I had forgotten, like the NCAA champs and the $1 beer night, and including all of the other guys that USL teams around us had left off. So yes, we are good to go. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. We always appreciate when you do. Please follow RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky. Anywhere you are, we are too. I am mostly on Twitter still at RBLR James K. You can use the hashtag AskRBLR, or Carlos, where can they reach you?
At Carlos GPA10 on Twitter. I'm posting. Spend too much time on there. Or X.com, I guess I always forget. They changed the name. Give me a follow. We'll talk Rowdies. We'll talk Georgetown hoops. Talk anything. I'm there for it.
And if you like and subscribe to our podcast, then you can follow us there and get the weekly updates. You can also get the full experience on YouTube if you just want to hear us, no problem. We are also on the Spotify and iHeartRadio apps, Apple and Google Podcasts. Again, wherever you are, we are too. With our Christmas wish list done, 2024 almost gone. Come on, you Rowdies.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.